This client was seriously harmed by a so-called master of layout theory. He went from being a business person worth over 100 million to losing everything. Why? A few years ago, this master advised him, saying, "Your major fate is about to enter the fire soup phase, so you can achieve great things." He anxiously asked me, "I have the fire soup pattern, so why did I end up losing everything? This master is also very famous. Isn't this the fire soup pattern? Isn't the fire soup pattern supposed to bring great success?" I asked him, "Who did you go with?" Hello everyone, many people know that last year I published this book and it has been selling quite well. In the book, I mainly selected several cases that I found significant. When I first started my business, I took on quite a lot of fortune-telling cases, but now the number of fortune-telling sessions I do each year is limited because my fortune-telling fees are basically, I donated all of it to hospitals, and anyone who has followed me for a long time would know this. So in the beginning, when I was doing more fortune-telling, I encountered many very unique cases. We picked out a few that were either extremely interesting or particularly outstanding. These cases are important for understanding the theoretical aspects of fate and for helping everyone grasp key concepts in fate analysis. I use a more novelistic or storytelling approach to draw everyone in. So why did I write this book? Basically, it's because we found that many people in the process of understanding and learning about fate don't necessarily want to become fortune tellers themselves. But it's because you want to understand your own life that you choose to learn about these tools for analyzing fate. Since you want to understand your own life, you actually need to learn from many life stories. You can't just look at the natal chart alone. The vast majority of people who study fate or metaphysics aren't doing it to become fortune tellers. They want to solve their own problems first, or to understand their own predicaments, or to figure out what their life is really like, and then use that understanding to tackle some of life's challenges. This is something we often tell everyone in our courses. You should go and do this. You need to look at the signs in your life in a very practical way and then look at your fate chart. It's like when you're driving. You don't just stare at your GPS. The GPS or the map is there, but if you keep your eyes on it while driving, you'll get into an accident right away. It's only when you reach a crossroads in life, like whether you should turn right or left or whether to get on the overpass, that you look at your life's navigation map, your fate chart. But many people, when they're learning, often just fixate on the chart and use it to scrutinize their own lives. Oh, that's not right. Of course, you may have encountered many teachers who tell you things like, "Oh, you have deception in your spouse palace. Your husband is Tiantong, so he's not suitable for you. He's not your true match." Is that correct? Of course not. Having Chisha in the spouse palace means you have your own principles when it comes to relationships. As for your husband being Tiantong, well, Tiantong can be interpreted in many ways, but at the very least, we know that people with Tiantong are, for the most part, good-tempered. So, is a good-tempered person suitable for someone who insists on their own views in a relationship? From a certain perspective, he's actually very suitable. If you're so insistent about everything, don't you need a man with a good temper to take care of you? So, when many people study fate analysis, they often fall into this kind of misconception. They can't understand their fate from real-life experience, but instead try to force their life chart to fit their own destiny. Many teachers also teach this way, and as a result, the more you calculate your fate and the more teachers you listen to, the more painful your life becomes. That's why I feel that I should explain some of my actual fortune-telling cases to everyone and at the same time help you understand what things a fortune teller should consider for their clients during the process. I want to clarify what perspectives everyone should be aware of, what boundaries should not be crossed in fate analysis, what lines a fate analyst should never overstep, and what principles we must uphold. I use many stories to help everyone understand my approach. And in the end, I compiled all these things into a book. I believe many people have bought this book, and there are a lot of stories in it. If you feel you don't really know Uncle Dong, you can treat it like a novel because you'll be surprised. Wow, there are so many stories and they're quite delightful. An even more interesting life. For example, today we're here to share with everyone there's a story, and what's the core of this story about? It's about fate and destiny. Many schools of fortune-telling talk about fate patterns. Whether you are someone with a certain caliber, what your 8 characters, Ba Zi, say about you, whether your Zi Wei Do Shu is a certain pattern, or your Chao Do pattern is a fire beach pattern, what your feng shui is, what kind of pattern it is, and so on and so forth. The term pattern or caliber, Jiju, in modern times, has always made people feel that having Jiju is a good thing, and not having it is bad, because we often hear people say, "Oh, you're someone with great caliber," or "Oh, you lack caliber." But in fact, if we break down the original meaning of these two characters, let's look at them separately. So what does GE mean? GE means to separate things that are not mine or to group similar things together. So the meaning of Ji is a zone, a block. And what about Ju? What does Ju mean? It also means a block or a zone. For example, you might say, come join my group, but this group may not be suitable for me. So both Ge and Ju refer to a certain range. And when they're used in these contexts, their original meaning is actually about categorization. They group these people into one category and those people into another category. But it doesn't specifically say that one group of people is better and another is worse. In ancient times, there might have been such ideas because back then, people were divided into social classes. For example, in ancient China, if you wanted to be selected for a position or become a government official, there was the so-called 9-rank system. People were divided into upper, middle, and lower classes, and each of these could be further divided into 3 levels, making a total of 9 ranks, hence the name 9-rank system. This method was used to judge, for example, what kind of person you are. The main criterion for this judgment was basically your family background. Of course, as we know from history, the dynasties that used the 9-rank system all ended up in a bad situation. Why? Because they were essentially only looking for talent within a certain group. And this belief in pedigree, even today, we can see examples like the so-called second-generation politicians or second-generation rich kids. Some of them rely on their family background, but end up doing worthless things. So the more someone relies on their bloodline or on beliefs like he got elected because of who his father is, or he can become an official because of his father's status, you'll usually find that their abilities are actually quite lacking. Why is that? Because what they rely on isn't their own ability or hard work. They rely on something else. It's because you've already been categorized in advance. Back in China's feudal era, this was extremely important. Whether or not you were placed in a favorable category could determine everything. Your starting point in life would be much higher than others. But is that still the case in today's world? Of course not. And what's even more serious is that this kind of mindset subtly influences those unqualified fortune tellers who will tell you what kind of fate you have. It's just like how many teachers tend to categorize you. I can even name some of these teachers. For example, Zhang Xingshu, he really likes to categorize people. He'll say, you have a supporting personality type, or you have a pioneering personality type. The way he talks about it, it's as if those with a supporting personality type, the ones he lists, basically can't achieve anything significant. But in reality, among those he classifies as having a supporting personality, quite a few have actually become prominent figures. This method of categorization is actually extremely an outdated and feudal mindset. In modern times, we really shouldn't look at people this way. But arguments like this, whether in fate studies or when you're feeling helpless and lost and in need of support, can easily sway you. Because people are often helpless, lost, and unsure of what to do, you naturally hope for a simple answer, and this provides just that. That's why this kind of categorization has always existed in all kinds of fate studies, and of course, it's also the easiest thing for you to learn during the process. It's just like saying, for example, Cancer people are family-oriented, Pisces women are manipulative, don't trust Aquarius women because they're promiscuous, and Taurus men, well, they're just naive and genuine, so it's easy for people to learn about them, and that's why they get categorized like this. But in reality, if you talk to someone who truly studies astrology, they'd spit at you for saying that, like Taurus men are all jerks, or that Pisces women are all emotional and capable, and Aquarius women are all promiscuous. He might be romantic, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's promiscuous. So this is actually why these kinds of stereotypes exist, or why in Western astrology, people like to say, if you're this sign, then you're like that. It's because it's a simple and straightforward way to categorize people. It's an accumulation of knowledge, but this kind of accumulation often contains very significant errors. In my book in this chapter, I wrote about a client who was seriously harmed by a teacher who used this kind of stereotypical approach. She went from being a salesperson worth over 100 million to having nothing at all. Why is that? Well, when this client first came to me, she was a woman of about 50 years old, and it was obvious from head to toe that you could immediately sense that she was an exceptionally sharp and remarkably elegant salesperson. You could clearly tell that she genuinely loved making money and was truly passionate about her chosen career. She exhibited a profound dedication to her work, always striving for excellence in every interaction. She had clearly made a lot of money before, as she was dressed head to toe in designer brands. However, at the same time, you could also see a kind of haze, a cloudiness on her face. When she came for her fortune reading, she walked up in a hurry and said to me, teacher, can you take a look for me? Why have things been so bad these past few years, and I still haven't gotten my commission? Of course, those who have been watching my YouTube channel for a long time, or those who have joined as members or participated in our online live broadcasts, know that during the live sessions, I do fortune readings for everyone on the spot. If you've joined as a member, you'll know that with advanced Zi Wei Astrology, we don't even need a birth chart. With just a quick calculation, I can tell what someone is worried about. So I did a quick calculation and immediately knew that yes, she is indeed going through a tough time right now. But he used to be very wealthy. I told him, don't worry, let me take a look at your chart. But he was still very anxious. He said, teacher, let me tell you, I've also studied a bit myself, and for a long time, I've always consulted teachers to read my chart. This teacher, Pan, is also very famous. Yes, that's right. Why is that? He told me, I have fire, Teacher Tang, but when I go invest or do business, I end up losing a lot of money. Actually, the story goes like this. This client has had a teacher who has been reading his fortune for him for almost 20 years. Then, a few years ago, this teacher advised him that because his major luck cycle was about to enter the fire beach phase, he could achieve great accomplishments. But as for the actual outcome, of course, you can guess. It must have been a miscalculation. He anxiously asked me, teacher, I have fire in my Tangay, so why did I end up losing everything, losing 3 houses? So I asked him. Consider if the teacher simply made a calculation mistake. He kept wanting a reason. He said their family's feng shui master wasn't good, his ancestral grave had a problem, something was blocking his seal or this and that. All sorts of problems, so I just stopped talking to him about it. But actually, the issue is very simple. The teacher just made a mistake. No matter what your problem is, if the answer the teacher gives you at that moment is wrong, then he simply got it wrong. If there's something wrong with your home's feng shui, he should be able to see it. If you're going to encounter troublemakers, he should be able to see that too, instead of just telling you some result or some change. So it's very simple. He just made a mistake. Then he said to me again, teacher, but I've studied this myself too. And this teacher is also very famous. Plus, it's obvious. I think this is a fire soup pattern. Look, on this chart, I put Mars and Tainan together. Isn't that a fire soup pattern? Isn't the fire soup pattern supposed to bring huge success? But in the end, nothing happened. At that time, who did you study with? I studied with that teacher. No, that teacher just made a mistake. If you learn from him, then of course what you learned is also wrong. Anyway, we often encounter clients like this. They might read books on their own or study with some teacher and then just pick up bits and pieces from here and there. Then they start interpreting their own charts. That's just how people are. When they see these patterns, they go, wow, fire soup, it's going to bring great fortune. Instant wealth, sudden riches. Wow, get rich quick, 888, so much money. Wow, that Yang Liang Chang Road, oh, 888, so much money. Of course, you'd hope that you have that kind of pattern. Of course, you'd want your life to be as wonderful as what's described in the books. But what is the reality? If you've ever read the ancient texts, you'll know that the dozens of patterns defined in those books are all based on the 6 combinations in the entire Zi Wei Doshu chart. Among these patterns, they are bound to appear within those 6 charts. In other words, everyone will have a certain pattern, and among every 6 people, there will definitely be a major pattern that appears. The probability is quite high. But the question is, with so many so-called instant successes, are there really that many people getting rich and becoming tycoons? Are there? No, right? So you'll realize that this isn't how it actually works at all. Back when I was studying this, I already had doubts about this issue. If something could be formed so easily, it just doesn't make sense. If it were really that easy, then the world would be full of rich people everywhere all the time. Oh, today the family upstairs wins big, tomorrow the family downstairs gets the Golden Bell Award, and the day after, the family to our left wins the Golden Horse Award. That's how it should be, right? But is that the case? No, it isn't, right? So when I was studying, I realized that what was written in the books was nothing like reality, because ever since I was young, I've enjoyed reading classical literature. And then when you study Chinese history, you'll realize that when Chinese people write books, there's something extremely annoying about it. They tend to hide the real secrets. In other words, they won't tell you certain things directly. So how can you tell when they're not being straightforward? Take layout, for example. That's a very obvious case, because it doesn't make sense. When you notice that something doesn't add up, you'll realize there's actually something fishy being hidden. You have to compare and cross-check. When you look at other information, you'll find that, in fact, for any layout to take shape, it must be paired with the 4 transformations. So when some teachers publicly claim that the 4 transformations aren't important, basically, it means they don't even have the basics down. That's the only reason they would say such things, if they don't pair things with the 4 transformations. Then it simply can't form the main criteria. So why does it need to be paired with the 4 transformations? Because when it comes to all these layouts, what they're talking about is almost always the manifestation of certain phenomena. For example, they might tell you that there is always hardship in the early years. In middle age, there will be great success. For example, in the Yang Liang Chang Lu pattern, it tells you that this person will rise very early and be able to hold high office. In the Huotang pattern, it tells you there will be rapid success. Rapid refers to the timing, and success refers to the phenomenon. It means that within a certain period of time, you will quickly become successful. These are all phenomena. It won't tell you what kind of person you are, right? Almost all patterns are like this. Of course, there are a few exceptions. For example, in the case of Yue Shen Changhai, it tells you that this person is an honest official, a person of integrity, and so on. But in most cases, what it tells you are just phenomena. And the emergence of these phenomena means that there will inevitably be changes in your life. And when there are inevitable changes in life, these changes are simply the truth. The appearance of the four transformations is a very important essence in Zi Wei Doshu because changes in the space-time environment cause new elements to emerge. It means that your life will also change due to the space-time environment. What does it change into? It becomes an expression, and things get much better. Turning into concepts like becoming wealthy in middle age. Actually, anyone who has a long-standing habit of reading classical texts will understand this. But the vast majority of teachers just interpret the words literally. They only look at the surface meaning. So when they haven't grasped the underlying spirit, they only see the basic verses like, oh, there's Mars and solar wind, there's fire beach verse. Wow, this is great. It's great. But they forget that the fire beach needs to erupt quickly. It requires a main road or is brought into a cycle because of desires, resulting in things that originally didn't belong to you, things that are extra. Moreover, this is a burning desire. The heat is the Martian desire. When greed and heat are combined with desire, it creates something extra that doesn't originally belong to you. This is called flower dew. So where should it be placed? It should be placed in the life palace or the wealth distribution palace. Only then does it count. Otherwise, if you place it in the spouse palace, that means you have a lot of romantic desires. If you put it in the friends palace, then it's your friends, the friends you make, the people you know, they are the ones expressing it. So what does that really have to do with you? Right? So you see, a lot of incorrect interpretations make it seem like people are eager to learn, but in reality, what they learn is a complete mess. This ends up causing them to make serious mistakes. We often get messages from people online asking me, saying, hey, I just want to casually read some books and practice on my own first. Then they think, maybe I should find a teacher to learn from. It all seems a bit off and not very accurate, but still. Anyway, it's just the basics, so it doesn't matter if it's wrong. No. If you get the basics wrong, everything that follows will be wrong too. If you don't even have this kind of fundamental understanding, then everything after that will be wrong. But the reality is, this type of teacher, they actually attract people very easily because what they talk about is very simple and it's easy for everyone to relate to it. But in reality, this can actually harm people. That's why when we teach, we're very rigorous, we have exams, there are tutors, and we accompany you in studying and reviewing. It's because we don't want a good field of knowledge to be oversimplified just to make money, leading to the spread of incorrect concepts. This ends up causing situations like the one with the client in the book. His teacher, just like many other teachers, told him, you just happened to encounter the fire soup luck, so you should quickly make a fortune. Therefore, you should make big investments. All right, back to his story. This person was originally doing extremely well in the real estate business, and he owned 2 or 3 properties. Then, when he went to have his fortune told, the teacher told him, you are about to encounter the major fire pond configuration, and you will make a lot of money. So you should start your own business. You should be your own boss, and then you'll make even more money. He was very excited and happy about this. At the same time, it just so happened that one of his clients, he was working in sales, was about to start a company. Then he was invited to join the company and was even made the chairman of the board. He was given the opportunity to manage a large company. At that moment, he thought, wow, the fortune teller who read my fortune before is amazing. I really am destined for greatness. In an instant, I became a big boss. So what happened next? Here's what happened. They used him as a front man and borrowed a lot of money under the company's name. But since he was the chairman, all the debt fell on him. In order to keep the company afloat, he had to shoulder everything. He ended up selling all the properties he had accumulated over more than 10 years of hard work. When he had to start everything from scratch, he turned to studying his own fate. Since he enjoyed researching his own destiny, but even after encountering so many problems, he thought, clearly my fate is supposed to be prosperous, so why is everything going so badly? So he started to reflect on it, but because his own research and analysis were flawed, everything he believed was actually wrong. So he kept getting stuck on that point. Of course, I can understand. It's like falling in love with a man and believing everything he tells you, but one day you find out he's been lying to you all along. You just can't get over it, and you can't understand how it's possible. After studying for over 10 years and reading so many books, how could it all be wrong? Why isn't it like what's written in the books? But this is exactly what I just mentioned about people We need to look at the real life situation to interpret a fate chart, not look at the chart to judge reality. If you understand this, you'll realize that what's written in books needs to be verified against actual situations. Only then can you know whether what's written in the books makes sense or not, right? If during our learning process, we constantly verify things against reality, then you won't be unaware when something is actually wrong and you won't get stuck in it. You'll develop your own ability to correct mistakes. Anyway, in this case, he encountered such a problem. And of course, he asked me about it. So I told him my main point is this. Yes, you have to bring in the concepts of road and circle. If you don't include road and circle, then basically you won't have the kind of extra wealth that comes from greed, which wasn't originally yours. If you haven't gained any rights or benefits that come from greed, then how could you possibly be considered as having activated Tangye? Of course, it's not explained that way. If it were, then it would be far too easy to activate Tangye, too easy to have zero Tangye, and too easy to have all sorts of different patterns. I explained to him the concept of so-called patterns or frameworks, but even so, he still couldn't let it go and remained very upset. Of course, afterwards, I told him it was okay, that he could make a comeback later, that there were still ways forward. But from this story, we can see that the term pattern or framework is really just a way of categorizing things. Many people like to hear about this concept, but in reality, it can't actually be used that way at all. If during your learning process, you are still obsessed with these patterns, then I have to be very honest with you. Your approach to learning is actually wrong, and people shouldn't look at things this way. A person isn't better just because they have a certain pattern, nor are they worse if they don't. For example, if you're placed in an advanced class but always end up at the bottom, wouldn't you feel pretty bad? But if you were the last in a free or regular class, you might actually be the top student in an ordinary class. Wouldn't you feel happier in the ordinary class? Let's assume that categorization is actually useful. So if you're categorized as one of the better people, does that really mean you'll live a better life? Not necessarily, right? So everyone, please remember, pattern or structure really isn't as important in fate or destiny as people make it out to be. If you hear a lot of teachers talking about this kind of thing, you need to understand that usually it's the less capable ones, because good teachers won't use structure to limit you. Just like good teachers aren't fortune tellers, they're simply good teachers. A good teacher also wouldn't think that students in the advanced class are better and those in the regular class are worse. They also wouldn't believe that students who score well in English are somehow greater, or that students who can sing are somehow inferior. These are all incorrect notions. So, as we study fate, we shouldn't let ourselves be limited by these ideas either. As for this chart, in my book, I actually discuss what its real issues are. We'll tell you about the real issues here on this channel.